Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of my vlogging YouTube startup diary that is totally unscripted. If you didn't see the first episode, I'll link to it here somewhere, or there somewhere. Thanks for watching if you did. I've got 2 subscribers. One of them is me, and the other one is my cousin Paul, so thank you, Paul, very much. This is how it all starts, I suppose, with nothing. Well, I'm very grateful to myself and Paul for watching. I'm doing episode 2 in what is actually going to be my main studio / office. It's an absolute pigsty at the minute, and I won't show you any of it apart from what you can see behind. You can see a glimpse of how bad it is actually with the empty walls. Just before lockdown, I tore down the wallpaper with a view to getting cracking on with renovating it and turning it into a lovely little studio. Then we got locked up. Then we got locked away. But yeah, the idea is that this is going to become my studio, and I'm going to do the main videos from here. Got the lights going in next week, actually. Got some spotlights going in, and then I can start painting it and put the carpet down and do all that cool stuff. But at the moment, it's just a bit of a mess. I do some client work and stuff in here, but generally speaking, it's just a bit of a tip. So that's that. What else? The branding is coming on. I'm nearly there with that. The logo is pretty much finished. The channel art is all being done. I'm not doing it. I've got someone who's a proper designer to do this because I'm terrible at design. I thought today I would just quickly give you an idea of the content process that I go through to create content for this channel. And I wrote about this recently on Medium, which I will link to in the description. But I just thought I'd give you a quick kind of overview of how I create what I call multi-channel content. Now, multi-channel content isn't a new concept. It's not something I've invented. It's it's a very standard method for creating content that can be distributed across a whole range of forms. So it might be a blog, it could be a podcast, video like this, it could be a whole number of things. But it starts with one single piece of content, which is then kind of broken up, adjusted, rewritten, rejigged, and basically molded into different forms of content. And the benefit of that is a couple of things, really. One is that you save a huge amount of time creating separate pieces of content with separate ideas. And 2, you keep your messaging very consistent across all of your different channels. So for example, if in this vlog I tell you how to do this 4-stage content creation process, it needs to really match what I'm saying on Medium in the blog version. And eventually, if I do a podcast about it, that's pretty much going to be based around the same advice, unless things change in that time. So you create consistency and your voice starts to develop. Part of the reason I thought I'd share this 4-stage content creation process in this diary video is because I'm hoping that I'm going to get a bit of an audience here for people that want to create YouTube channels. I know I was listening to a podcast earlier and they were talking about the COVID creators, as they've been called, people who are starting to do this sort of stuff, starting to create their own content because they're on furlough, or they've perhaps unfortunately lost their jobs, or for whatever reason they're thinking, I want to get into this. I do genuinely think there's a lot of people out there who need a bit of advice, need to know a little bit more about how to create content that spreads across different mediums. So I'm rambling. I'd said in episode 1 that I'd ramble. I'm not going to apologise for it. So let's look at the 4 stages of content creation that I go through. So stage 1 is what I call just write. And even if you don't write at all, or you don't enjoy writing, for example, I hate working with numbers. I'm useless with numbers, but I know sometimes I need to work with numbers because I run a business. I just get into it and start doing it. The same thing goes for words. Just go for it. Start writing. Even if you've only got an inkling of an idea, or even if you've got no idea at all, as soon as you get up in the morning, hit your laptop and start writing. See what comes out. Some of the best work I think I've created, others may disagree, but some of the best work I've created has come from this process of just writing. Now, I'll admit I am a writer by trade. It's a big part of what I do. I enjoy doing it. I think I'm pretty good at it. So it comes quite naturally, but not always. Again, I'll perhaps come on to that in future videos, but generally speaking, I can smash out a few words fairly quickly. But I don't always have a plan. I might have a loose plan. I sometimes just have a title in my head. So the first stage of this content creation process is just to sit down and start writing. Even if 90% of what you come out with is garbage, that 10% that is absolute gold dust and is actually the formation of your idea can then be polished. It's where you take that initial brain dump, or whatever you want to call it, and turn it into a polished blog post. Now, by polished, I mean something that you will actually publish on your website, on a client's website, or wherever it may be. And by polished, I mean it needs to be proofread. It needs to form some kind of structure. There's lots of things on the web about how to format blogs and all that stuff. I'm not going to go into that for now, but it has to start turning into a blog that you'll be happy to publish on your website. A good way to do this, once you've written it, send it on to a colleague or onto someone you trust within your friend circle or a family member, and just get them to critique it and say, does this read well? Does it make sense? Whatever. Once you're happy with it, then publish it. At that point, you've published your blog. Fantastic. So stage 3 is this stage. It's turning that blog post into a video. But this is what I'm doing now. I'm actually creating the video version of the Medium blog that I mentioned earlier. And actually, if I'm honest, it's here. This is a warts and all behind the scenes look at what I'm doing. And trust me, most of the YouTubers will do this same thing. They'll sit there and won't read it word for word. Some do. I don't particularly like that myself. I'd much rather do a video-friendly version, if you like. But this is where having written that blog initially comes as a huge benefit when you're creating the video. The reason for that is because you've got it in your head already. So if you can do the video not that long after you publish the blog, it's still going to be fresh in your mind. So you're still going to know the rough makeup of it, the structure, the kind of beginning, the middle, the end. You know where you're going with it. So turning that blog into a video like this should be relatively straightforward. All I suggest is, like I've done, keep it nearby, just to keep referencing as you need to, but don't worry about veering off course. In fact, the whole point of repurposing content is that you go off in different directions when it becomes a different form of content. So enjoy, have a laugh. Then we go to stage 4. So stage 4 is the last part of this 4-stage content process, obviously, and it results in you creating a podcast. Now, I do podcasting for a living. It's part of my service that I offer clients. I'm an avid podcast listener myself. I just love the format. I think it's brilliant. And I think it also, even though it's quite an old form of content marketing, it has actually really gained prominence over the last few years, which is great news for marketers, and it's great news for businesses and influencers and creators, because you can get into this yourself. And the way you get into it is surprisingly easy. I'm not at this stage yet with Ellis Reviews. I'm still building the bits, building the brand and doing all this stuff to get it going. But the long goal with this is to have a blog, a YouTube channel, and a podcast. Now, initially, the podcast element will be quite straightforward because it will just be the audio version of this. It'll be me talking without the images. Now, doing that is very straightforward. Now, obviously, you need a little bit of audio editing knowledge, but it's quite straightforward to get your head around. You can probably spend an hour or two on YouTube just learning a few basics. And there's a lot of software out there, lots of apps and things you can use, probably free apps you can find that let you do audio editing. And yeah, you can just basically rip the audio from your video, tweak it a little bit, add a bit of music at the start and the end, bang, you've got a podcast done. Now, going forward, if you really get into podcasting, you'll probably want to spend a bit more time on your podcast, because the method I've just described is just like the audio version of your video. And if your video is particularly visual, that won't always work, obviously. However, if it's this kind of thing where you're giving advice and giving tips and stuff like that, it will do. It will work for the time being. And that's it. There's one bonus stage, which I mentioned in the Medium article, but I'll let you find that. I'll let you go and have a look at that. But it's all about what you can then do with the blogs that you create. That's it. I'm going to stop rambling on now. I hope it's been useful. Thanks again to Paul for watching, and to myself for watching, and my mum will probably watch as well. Hopefully on my next diary I'll have some kind of ceiling lights in place. If I get brave, I might show you the state of this room at some point. But until then, I think it's time to sign off. And I'm going to do that thing where I reach over and it looks like I'm turning the camera off, because everyone seems to do that. So see you next time.